1066 AD. While the West fell centuries ago, the East still lives. However, we live in the dark days. Even with the reconquest of Justinian, the Macedonian Renaissance, it was all short-lived as the new threat came from the East, the Turks. They took all of Persia and now they aim for Armenia. Even the current usurper, Constantine, 10th of his name, of House Dukas, was being utterly incompetent. Governors weren't pleased. However, even in the most darkest of times, there are those seeking to reclaim the lighter and golden times. Such was the usurper's son, Michael, albeit he was not the best. But deep inside him, ambition rose. Will the son of a usurper succeed? Or will he fail? That is the question that God or gods know. Hello everyone, I am once again back from my long slumber, and again I had trouble with making of a video, god damn it, but I hope I will be more active these days. So without further ado, let me explain everything. So out of all characters, I decided to go with one of the bad ones, especially in vanilla CK3 with a bunch of other mods, especially Michael the 7th, also known as Parapinakes, or minus a quarter, meaning he was the one who debased the economy in the Eastern Roman Empire, or Byzantium. But since this video is about old history, just as most of my videos are, I'm going to make Michael better and see what will he and his heirs do to restore the glory of Rome. Also, on a technical note, I will upload the list of the mods I used alongside with a .json file in the description and in the pinned comments of this video if possible. Now, enjoy. Before Michael could become the sole emperor, he was a co-emperor and a governor in the theme of Philippopolis, governing there without problems, except for some crumbling in the peasants and some religious differences, being that there were the Bulgarian Bogomilists, aka the heretical by church sect of Christianity, which violates the doctrines and aspects in favor of not being associated with the church and some of the concepts and theology of Christianity. Also, the Bulgarians themselves weren't really much a calm and content people in the Eastern Roman Empire. Ever since the First Bulgarian Empire fell, they were crumbling a lot, and IRL they did end up rebelling. But besides the Bulgarians, there are other South Slavs in the empire who aren't fond of the Romans either. So in the late of 1060s AD, some Southern Slavic peoples rebelled in the empire after the Romans lost some parts of southern Italy and Armenia from the Seljuks. Being the co-emperor he was, Michael sent one of his good generals and funded some mercenary companies alongside mobilized his men to assist the imperial forces against the rebels, which worked very well for the Romans. And because of this, for long the southern Slavs weren't rebelling, for quite a while at least. But when Constantine died, Michael came into power. It was during his reign that Sicily was lost. Don't worry, it will be back, trust me. But it was during time was that the Seljuks did not gain any land of Anatolia, suppressing the Turks and forever having Anatolia under Roman banner. Well, with some Armenian influence, but that doesn't really much matter in this story. But most important aspect of Michael's reign was the administrative governance reform, in which he created the exarchatons and katepanats. Now, if you don't know what these two mean, I'll explain it in simple and a bit oversimplified terms. So the katepanats are the border provinces of the empire, while the exarchatons are the non-bordering, well, except for the exarchate of Ravenna, collection of provinces into one, like kingdom titles in CK3 terms. Now, in the context of the game itself, the title names are kind of messy, but since this is alt history, I hope this can be avoided and have a pass. Now, why did I I mean, why did Michael do this? Firstly, he wanted to make the empire even more bureaucratically complicated, but looking deeper, it's because the governors could handle any rebellion or raiding with ease, collecting the taxes and etc. from the minor governors and sending most of the stuff to the emperor, him or herself, depending on who rules, while the emperor or the ruler focuses on the personal domains and the personal vassals he controls via de jure of his imperial exarchate, which is of Thessalonica.
That may be subject to change.
While he was also spending time. Okay. Meanwhile, Michael was also spending time learning about the imperial bureaucracy, trying to understand anything of it, the administrative stuff, and etc. Since he's the sole emperor now, or well, that's at least until he appoints his son named Constantine to be his co-emperor, even before he became adult. Alongside that, Constantinople and other imperial fiefs in Thrace, etc., were being developed economically via constructing economic buildings, improving sanitation, and all of that. Alongside that, the imperial senate of Magnaura, which is a Eastern Roman version of the original Senate in Rome, but unlike in Rome, this one is kind of smaller, yet still plays its role, albeit not being that influential, unlike in the days of the old Roman Empire. But Michael appointed those in the Senate, especially the patricians and the consuls, as in the following: loyal, competent in administering their governorates, or those who were playing crucial roles like generals. Now, the current world situation is, fair to say, complicated. Anyway, if I'm being honest here. Like the Almohads claiming France for themselves, I mean, kinda accurate here, IRL could have been, considering what times we're living in. But that's IRL. In here, it's a bit different. But one of the drastic and one of the future pain in the ass moment was the conquest of Wallachia, aka Southern Romania, or how the Romans would eventually call it as Dacia, or Dacia, or whatever you pronounce it. Now, why I said it's a pain in the ass moment? You'll see soon, because I swear to God how much I hate the Hungarians. Anyway, besides that, forgot to mention Michael's wife, who was younger than him, named Martha of House Bagrationi or Bagratuni, was one of the relatives of the Georgian king, and he was usurped, her dad, essentially, and the usurper was also a family member of hers via dynasty and via her uncles and cousins. But it will get worse from here, once the empire captured Georgia, installing the puppet queen into power, one of her cousins or whatever took power via forcing diplomatically abdicating the throne, having a guy named Demetre to inherit all of that, while Michael had to seize the new Georgian king's attempt at having Michael's wife's lands in Abkhazia. What can I say? It's feudalism, all about family. Even betrayals involve family via war or politics or even assassinations. East Georgia didn't rebel for independence. For now. At least, and I hope that for the rest of the game it stays neutral. In 1097 to 1098 AZ, while the Seljuks were busy with the Apostolic Armenian rebels and etc. shit, Sicily's new king was way worse than his predecessor Robert the Fox. Now, for context, Robert the Fox was the one who conquered southern Italy, especially Bari and etc. lands alongside Sicily through and through from Michael's hands. But now with the old Sicilian king dead, his heirs being incompetent, alongside that the Norman dukes and counts were busy in their own internal strives, obviously Michael used that excuse to take over all of Sicily for the empire, bringing southern Italy back to the true Roman Empire, not the Holy Roman degenerative German Confederation or, God forbid, the Papal States. After fighting multiple battles, sieges, and dealing with the local rebellions, after putting governors and etc., the final thing that Michael pulled before he died in the 1110s, or specifically 1116 AD, was the reconquest of some parts of Syria and Egypt, annihilating the Fatimids and some etc. Arabs. But Michael's poor health couldn't let him continue, as the cautious, deceitful man he was died in spring of the early mentioned 1116 AD.